Good evening. I would like to call to order the March 24th, 2025 Lake Washington School Board meeting. Let the record reflect that all school board members are present and accounted for, as well as two of our student representatives, Shira and Saniri, this evening. The board values public participation and engagement in the meetings of the board. Board meetings will continue to be live streamed on the LWSD website and are available for viewing following the conclusion of the board meeting as well. The public are always welcome to email the board at boardmembers@lwsd.org. We will begin the evening with our land acknowledgement. Director Stewart.
Thank you. The Board of Directors of the Lake Washington School District acknowledges that our district is on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved the treaty rights on this land, including the Duwamish and the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived here since time immemorial. We commit to continue collaborating with our Native community to teach the indigenous history of this land and these local tribes to all children of the district. We also commit to provide the best possible education for all children of Native descent who attend our schools.
Thank you, Director Stewart. I will now entertain a motion to approve the March 24th, 2025 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Guthrie and seconded by Director Stewart to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The first item on our agenda this evening is our recognitions. Director Guthrie, would you like to read our first proclamation, our only proclamation this evening?
Yes. Whereas school libraries provide materials for teachers and students that will encourage growth and knowledge, and whereas the school library media specialist's role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the library program is an integral part of the instructional program of the school, and whereas school libraries provide materials to meet individual needs, varied interests, abilities, socioeconomic backgrounds, and maturity levels of the students served, and whereas school libraries provide materials that reflect the ideas and beliefs of religious, social, political, historical, and ethnic groups, and their contributions to the American and world heritage and culture. And whereas the school library contributes to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education. Therefore, we, the members of the Lake Washington School District Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as School Library Month in Lake Washington School District.
Thank you, Director Guthrie. The next item on our agenda this evening is public comment. The Board of Directors of Lake Washington School District welcomes the public to the business meetings of the board and encourages community engagement. The board dedicates 30 minutes to hear from the public during the public comment period of the meeting, with each individual provided up to 2 minutes to speak. Participants should not expect a response from the board at the end of their comments, as we dedicate this time to listening to your voice and would like to get as many members of the public an opportunity to speak as the time allows. Members of the public can sign up to participate on the district website at lwsd.org/board/public comments. Sign up closes at noon on the day of the board meeting, and comments will be offered in the order of sign up. If you've signed up to speak but are not able to attend the meeting, you may designate another person to speak in your place by sending an email to publiccomment@lwsd.org before noon the day of the meeting. If the original speaker is not present at the board meeting and has not notified LWSD of a replacement in writing by the deadline, the board will move to the next speaker. Substitutions at the meeting will not be accommodated. This evening, we do have about 20 individuals signed up for public comment, so I am anticipating that we're not going to get through the full list. If you have prepared public comments in a written format, please feel free to forward that to the board as well, and all the board members will read it. So we can go ahead and begin our public comment section of our meeting. The first person we have signed up is Kelly. No, Kelly? Okay. The second person is Neha. Maybe we will get through all 20. No, Neha? Okay. Third is Unje. Come on up. And if this is your first time, we do have a stoplight on this wall over here. Green means you're good. Yellow, it'll switch to yellow at 1 minute, and then it'll go to red when your time is up. So if you could wrap up your comments, we'd appreciate it. All right.
To the members of the board, thank you for taking the time to listen to community voices. My name is Anjay Jun, and I am a junior at Lake Washington High School. I had a speech prepared about the new high school schedule, but I had to rewrite my comment in the last 2 hours because a new schedule for the 2025-2026 school year was released just today. I think I can speak for my peers and my teachers, how we're very pleased that the district listened to our feedback from the community. However, I still have concerns, not with the schedule itself, but how the district handled its rollout. When the original schedule was released in February, we were all shocked. Teachers had no idea this was coming. Students had never given feedback on the schedule in any of the public community forums or surveys, and even our principals and school administration seemed to be confused. When we looked on the website, we saw the next board meeting's public comment section had been preemptively canceled, and we had no way of sending our feedback in person. The new schedule, which the district had been working on for months, had errors that were quietly fixed after the fact. And before today, I looked at the school schedule on our website and saw that the morning office hours had been replaced with teacher prep time without any announcement. And now, the day that I and many of my peers are slated to speak, a new schedule has been announced. I would like the district to carefully consider how their messaging and how and when they communicate it is being interpreted by LWSD staff and students who look to the board for leadership and messaging during schedule changes like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we've got Jason Powell.
Dr. Holman, members, directors of the board, and folks back there. My name is Jason Powell. I am the president and staff director at Teamsters Local 763. I'm not here today speaking on behalf of the Trades Council. We are one union of the Trades Council, although we are about 70% of the Trades Council. We represent the paraeducators, the bus drivers, and the warehouse. I've had the distinct honor of representing that group for about a little over 20 years. And things are going great. Since the ratification of the current contract, we've had good collaborative labor relations with Richard, with Aaron, with John in transportation. We are preparing for bargaining. We have a membership meeting on Saturday the 5th. We should be getting ready for bargaining with the district. One of the messages that I'd like to send today is that we'd like that collaboration to continue into bargaining. We've got pretty much all the classified unions bargaining this year. I also wanted to just, in transparency, SEIU, LWSP, the Trades Council, we are in a coalition this time for bargaining. Obviously, we won't be bargaining together, but we will be sharing information so that we all are confident that the messages we're hearing at the table are the same message for all the unions, and primarily focusing on internal equity in those bargains with all the groups. So that's what I got to say. Thank you for the work you guys do. Thank you for the student representatives that come and the rest of the crowd that's here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Alex Lee.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you again. I'm Alex Lee with the Cascadia College, and just wanted to give you a couple updates. First, thank you so much to those of you that were able to join us on February 26th to celebrate our Cascadia's 25th anniversary. And we're happy to be at this place in our growth and service in the community. Over 250 people attended. And in the Lake Washington School District, we do not currently offer any college in the high school courses. We would be very open to working with you on this. Superintendent Holman, if you're interested, give President Murray a call and connect on that. And as well, our Redmond Center location continues to be available to students of Running Start. We know that 600 students attend Bellevue College for Running Start, and keeping them closer to our home here would be great, and closer to their high school campuses by using the Redmond Center, and that's something we could also explore with you. And currently, our budget situation looks stable, and our enrollment continues to grow. The next big event for us is going to be graduation on June 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have signed up Rachel King.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight. I have a matter that is very important to me. I have 4 children who attended Lake Washington School District over the span of 25 years. And it really breaks my heart to see progressively over the course of the years the changes that have been impacting our students in such a way that are becoming very detrimental. One of the things that I'm really strongly disappointed is a decision that was made to change the bell schedule from the high school students. According to the OSPI district report card for the 2023-2024 school year, Lake Washington School District had approximately 9,518 high school students enrolled. 6.5% of those students were English learners. I personally know the difficulties of learning English and trying to keep up with a class. 12.75 of those students, they have 504 accommodations, with ADHD being the most common disability associated with these 504 accommodations. 7.28% of the students in our district currently have IEPs with multiple disabilities. The current schedule will have a tremendous impact on those students. That will account to 26.53% of our student population. In speaking with Mr. Scott Beebe during one of the presentations at the high school, he said that looking at kids with disability and the ability that they have to keep up with classes were not taken into consideration. I do not understand why we have to have blocks of classes that are inconsistent, extremely long, and it will be very detrimental for those students. I would like to ask the board to please reconsider the bell schedule and take the needs of those students as well as the neurotypical students.
Could wrap up your comments.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nathaniel Byram.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Nathaniel Byram, president of the School Lunch Interest Group from International Community School. Together with my peers, we are here to advocate for the student body of our district to receive healthier and higher quality school lunches. One of our primary goals is to create a more collaborative relationship between students and the district to better utilize the feedback students give regarding school lunches. I've been in contact with various administrators of the Nutrition Services Department and encountered challenges when maintaining a line of communication. On the U.S. Sodexo page, Sodexo claims that they transform school lunch food into exciting, nutritious meals that students enjoy. Having deeply researched age-specific taste preferences and built thoughtful menus using fresh local ingredients that ensure students receive the nutrition they need to succeed. However, according to student data pulled from 137 students at ICS, 78% answered negatively when asked whether school lunch was healthy, and 69% of those students answered negatively when asked whether they enjoyed eating school lunch. If you wish to gather more data on this from other schools, we'd be more than happy to assist with this. Additionally, we have some anonymous quotes from students at ICS. One student says, "I used to eat school lunch, but I noticed a decrease in quality in these past 2 years. and another student says, I prefer food from home, and I'm vegetarian, so there are not a lot of options for me in terms of lunch. We have more anecdotal evidence from ICS students on this matter that we elected to exclude from this session given the time allotted, and we would also be more than willing to share this with you. Our final ask is that we work together in collaboration for the good of the student body, staff, and families on this incredibly important matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got Vina.
Good evening, respected board members and the members of our community here. So I am a private school student's mom, and I came here to highlight a few things. As you may have already known, the high cap rollout for private school students this year has been a little turbulent. And I wanted to highlight one such instance which shows the inequality, unfairness, and breach of compliance from the head of the accelerated department here. So one such instance happened last week is the department's head gave a heads up to a certain set of families who met insufficient evidence for their high cap capabilities results. And she sent them a notification about the update to the process rollout for the portfolio collection extension till June 6th to that subset of families on March 17th. That was a heads up. But in all fairness, she communicated to all the impacted families who got the insufficient evidence only on March 21st. Why was there a gap of 4 days? This gives an unfair advantage, and this shows and reflects the unfair attitude, compliance, and breach of compliance and ethics in terms of how the director has been handling this whole rollout. Like, why give someone a heads up 4 days ahead? It may or may not have an advantage to them, but why not communicate to all the families on the same time? This itself is a breach of compliance, and in bigger organizations, this would probe into a breach of compliance and ethics protocols, and a probe into the director's approach in how they have rolled it out. I'm just trying here to bring this up and surface it up. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have VJ.
Good evening, board members. I'm here to highlight another concern with the high cap identification process. The multidisciplinary committee has been misinterpreting standardized test scores. Literacy assessments evaluate or assess a wide variety of skills like listening, reading, comprehension, and so on. Some of the tests report these various sections under different labels. Some of them, like Fastbridge, calls them reading for the whole thing. Some of them, like the Iowa ITBS, calls reading as just a one subsection, comprehension, listening as another subsection, and the overall thing is called as extended ELA or English Language Arts. The multidisciplinary committee has shown incompetence by equating the overall score of Fastbridge with one of the subsection scores in Iowa. They should be taking the overall score ELA and not just one subsection. State of Washington, the law says that the person in charge of in the multidisciplinary committee for evaluating these test results know how to interpret it. And if they superficially just look at, oh, this word is this word is this, I'm going to match it, that's not showing that skill or competence. So I really urge you to look at how the representative and multidisciplinary committee is actually interpreting these various standardized test scores and share that with the broader public. And also I urge that if it's a matter of incompetence, that you find out a better, more competent person in charge of how to assess these test scores. They can't be randomly picking, hey, this word matches with that word and say, this matches. Our students deserve more. I mean, this is flawed, and what they're doing is academically irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ria. Is Ria here? No? Okay. Ernest?
Good evening. My name is Ernest, and I'm a 12-year-old middle schooler who loves playing tennis. I'm here today to ask for lights to be installed on the tennis courts at Redmond Middle School. Currently, these courts are almost unusable after sunset because they don't have lights. With the tennis courts at Reservoir Park unavailable for several months due to construction, it's become even harder for people in our community to find places to play. This is especially frustrating because other public courts in the city, like those at Perigo Park and Grassland Park, already have lights with timers. Why can't the Redmond Middle School courts have the same? It doesn't seem right that the parking lot at the Redmond Middle School has lights on all night, but the tennis courts remain dark. These courts aren't just for the school. They're open to the public, and they've even been used for city-run summer camps. This means they serve not just the students, but the wider Redmond community as well. I've already spoken to the City Council about this issue, and I'm hopeful that the school district and the City of Redmond can work together to find a solution. Adding lights would make a big difference for kids like me who want to play tennis after school, as well as for families who work during the day. It would show our city values equal access to recreational facilities for everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll consider making a small but important improvement for our community.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Pamela.
Good evening, Lake Washington School Board. I'm Pamela Kelly. I'm a school safety and prevention specialist at Lake Washington High School. I'm also the president of SEIU Local 925 for the Lake Washington chapter. I appreciate the opportunity to address you today as we prepare to enter into bargaining with the district. As we embark on this important process, I want to emphasize the coalition and solidarity we have built with our fellow unions within Lake Washington School District. Together, we stand united in our commitment to advocating for equitable working conditions, fair wages, and the necessary resources to support our students and staff alike. We are looking forward to a collaborative and productive bargaining process. Our goal is to work hand in hand with the district to create outcomes that not only benefit our members, but also enhance the educational experience for every student in our schools. We believe that open communication and mutual respect are key to successful negotiations. We are ready to engage in meaningful discussions and to listen to each other, ensuring that our collective voices are heard throughout this process. Together, with the strength of our coalition, we can achieve great things. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working alongside you in the days to come.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Lydia Wheeler.
Hello. I'm Lydia Wheeler. I'm an Account Tech 3 at Support Services, a resident of the district and the president of Lake Washington Educational Support Professionals. I'm here tonight on behalf of the 300 plus employees represented by LWESP and the Classified Unions Coalition of Lake Washington. I am not only proud of the work I know I and my members do every single day for the students, families, and staff here, but to stand with our union siblings in this coalition, who also do incredible things for our Lake Washington community every day. The office professionals and nurses of LWESP are eager for a fair and timely negotiation to modernize our contract. Our last full reopen was the first time in our union's history we settled a contract before it expired, and we look forward to continuing this newly founded tradition and starting next school year with a fair contract in place. Thank you all for your time and for your hard work for our schools and our students.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Zach Wines.
Good evening. So I'm here about a boundary adjustment because everybody wants to be in this district, right? So that's not a bad thing. Currently, there's a petition that you all have already approved, but that Riverview is opposing. It's to push the district a little bit east into Riverview. And depending on how that goes, we hope it goes well. But where we have property, my family, we're not quite included. It's leaving a little tiny sliver. Now that might seem, well, okay, well you can't just keep going into Riverview forever. Well, the problem is there's nowhere else to go because just east of our property, there's a cliff that goes down into the Snoqualmie Valley. There's nowhere else to go. So what's happening is, I've been trying all day to come up with an illustration. Imagine you sold your car, it had 3 rows, but you cut off the 3rd row. Well, there might be a reason why someone would do that, but who really wants just the 3rd row? It's silly because you're pushing east and then you're leaving this tiny sliver that's on an island now. So, question is, okay, why am I here? We probably can't go back and adjust that petition. It's already before the Puget Sound ESD. I haven't talked to them yet. Maybe they'd be willing to. However, you guys probably are familiar with the process. The board can unilaterally approach Riverview without us having to go through the whole process of filing a petition and getting signatures and voter registration information, which we're willing to do. But you do have the ability to approach Riverview and say, hey, we'd actually like to go ahead and take this little slice also. They'll probably oppose it, and then we'll be before the regional committee again, just like we are now with the other petition. And we don't want to mess with that other petition. We want them to succeed. But we'd also like to get our little slice of land included as well. So I'll follow up with more in writing with you guys, but I just wanted to let you know, have a heads up for that. We'd like to just do what's logical as far as these boundaries. So thank you very much.
Thank you. What is happening? With that introduction music, I believe this is our first virtual public comment. Is there Mr. Wen Ming? Or no?
Wen Ming, we're ready for you to start.
Yeah, hello, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm late, like 5 minutes, because logging in the Teams has some issues. Okay, good evening, members of the school board. My name is Wenming Huang, and I am a concerned parent residing here in Kekelang. My daughter, Maggie Huang, is currently a 4th grade student at St. Crest Academy. I'm here tonight because Maggie, despite achieving exceptional test scores in the top 1 to 2 percentile, scoring 99% on the NAT3, 99% in Iowa Math, and 98% in Iowa Reading, was denied the opportunity to enroll in LWSD full-time quest last year. I believe this was due to a discriminatory policy. This year, Maggie didn't give up and reapplied. However, she was rejected without even being offered an enrollment test. Beyond Maggie's experience, I have significant concern about the lack of transparency surrounding the Quest program. It is incredibly difficult for parents to understand the specific administration critically and effectively considering creating a sense of operating in a black box. Furthermore, I believe there is an unfair balance against private school students in the Quest admissions process. This year, 0% of students were deemed eligible from CCA, as well as Bell-led Bilingual Academy and Chestnut Hill Academy. All private schools with a large number of Asian students. This raises serious questions about equitable opportunity. I urge the school board to address the lack of transparency in the QUEST program and
Could
to
you
ensure
wrap
a
up your
fair
comments?
and equal opportunity for all qualified students in LWSD, including those who attend private schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Anaya Mitros.
It's Anya, but that's okay. No, that's fine. So we thank you for the service that you do, by the way. I know I'm about to complain, but thank you guys for all the hard work you do. So we moved to Redmond a little less than 2 years ago from California, from near Google to near Microsoft. So I came to Redmond with preconceptions about public schools based on what I saw in California. The one that's been the biggest culture shock is the vastly reduced focus on equity here. To fit into the 2 minutes, I'll share only one example today, and I'll be back on April 7th. I'll start with a personal story. When we moved to the US, my mom shopped on triple coupon days. We rented 2 rooms in a home, and I attended Berry Elementary School for 3rd grade. For various reasons that largely amounted to my parents' economic situation, I attended another school for 4th grade, and another for 5th, and another for 6th, and a different school district for 7th grade. 5 schools in 5 years. If those schools had Lake Washington School District rules, I would have never seen a gifted or accelerated program. That experience of mobility is far more common for low-income kids than for high-income house-owning families. And now I'll share my daughter's story. Due to upheavals related to the COVID pandemic, she attended 1 school for kindergarten, another for 1st grade, another for 2nd grade, and then we moved to Redmond for 3rd grade. So 4 schools in 4 years, or if you count her way, where you include preschool, that's 5. This school year is the first one that she's had to maintain a community of friends from 1 year into the next. Math is too slow, reading is boring, she says, but how lovely to have some friends consistently from year to year. I was so excited to move to a district with high cap programs, and it was only after arriving here that I learned about the waiting period. And only recently did I understand that it's a 2-year waiting period for newcomers to access high cap programs that are nominally written into state law, 2 years. And recently we finally received notice that Sonoma is in need of high cap services. She's been in need for at least 2 years. But with the elimination of Pull-Out Quest, she now has the choice of a 3rd year, for the first time in her life, a 3rd year of social stability or full-time Quest. What a choice she has. What a ruthless choice. So I would like to implore you to get rid of the waiting period for services that are written into state law.
Thank you. Sam?
Sam is no longer in the virtual queue.
Okay. Amira.
Hello, my name is Amira Golub, and I am a junior at Redmond High School. I'm here to speak on behalf of all the high schoolers that will be impacted by the new schedule for next year, including over 1,200 students that signed a Change.org petition online asking for edits to be made. We raised issues like the loss of travel homeroom, removing a time for targeted help and test makeups. Issues like how Friday would have to become test day, the day you all had said had historically higher absentee rates, which would not bode well for student grades and the amount of makeups that would need to happen. And most importantly, we cited issues like the double 4th period on Tuesday, which also became known to some of us as the class period of doom. I understand that there are many complexities and constraints around designing a schedule, and I understand that much time, effort, and consideration went into forming this one. With all that in mind, I propose an extremely minor change that will have major benefits, swapping Monday's 5th period block with Tuesday's 4th period block. This would ensure every class only happens once per day. If this change is not made, the double fourth period will lead to extra fatigue, decreased focus, discouragement, and will negatively impact student learning, grades, and test scores. Personally, for example, by the end of a 76-minute math class, I'm already drained. If I had to return back to math class at the end of an 80-minute block period, I wouldn't be able to process any more numbers during the second session. But if this minor change is made, it will help create a more balanced schedule, reduce student fatigue, and prevent fourth period from becoming the class period of doom. The only drawback would be students having lunchtime assigned based on their fifth period rather than fourth period on Tuesdays. But there's already no 2 days in a row where students' lunch periods are assigned by the same class, so that is nowhere near a big enough issue to outweigh the benefits. I understand your proposed schedule is not forever, as you plan to review it at the end of next year. But this is a fix you can make now, before it leads to a year of worse grades, extra tired students, and more absences for fourth period. So please, truly consider swapping Monday's fifth period block with Tuesday's fourth period block to significantly improve student focus and engagement. It's a small change, but it will have major impacts. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. That concludes our public comment for the evening. If you were not able to speak tonight and have your comments written, please feel free to forward them to the board. And also, please feel free to go ahead and exit, and we're going to go ahead and continue our meeting. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the March 24th, 2025 consent agenda. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Stewart. Superintendent Holman, will you please poll the board?
I will. Director Yoakum?
Yes.
Director Stewart?
Yes.
Director LaLiberty?
Yes.
Vice President Guthrie?
Yes.
And President Choi?
Yes, motion carries. Dr. Holman, will you please review the donations?
There you go. Yeah, it's nice.
Your mic is on.
So in the board's packet tonight, you have just over $79,000 in donations. Our PTSAs coming to support our schools again, and our Redmond High School Booster Club coming to provide support for the ongoing programming. And like always, we just want to thank our parents, families, and community partners for continuing to support our schools and programs.
Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda this evening is legislative business. I believe we have a staff update this evening. Dr. Holman.
So as Associate Superintendent Posthumus comes up to the presentation dais, stage, microphone. As the board knows, this has been I'll say a very involved legislative session. We've been tracking a significant number of bills, of which it seems like as a bill comes up and a bill goes away. The state truly did coalesce around 3 big items called the Big Three: special education, transportation, and MSOCs, materials, supplies, and operating costs. And so we're getting to that point where we can start to see maybe a picture being painted, knowing that things often do have some changes that occur between now and I won't even attempt to say what the last day of the session is. But tonight, Barbara has a update, pretty specific update related to where we are with a number of these bills and where they are in session.
All right, thank you very much. Again, the purpose of tonight is to give you a quick overview of the session now that we've passed the midpoint. So we are in a long session, the first session of the biennium. So it ends April. The goal is for it to end April 29th unless the legislature extends it. So cutoff dates were March 12th, and the final cutoff date is April 8th. So they are focused on balancing the budget. So, and in light of the state budget challenges, the legislature is trying to work through the committees. They've been thoughtful about holding hearings on bills that have fiscal impacts. But so even with fewer bills moving this year, we as a district staff and board members have testified on 36 individual bills. So as a reminder, each year you as the Board of Directors develops your legislative platform. This is a copy of that platform. This is also contained on our website under legislative priorities. It shares our priorities and focus. We then meet with our legislators at the beginning of the session to share these priorities. So a reminder, the big three is our urgent priorities, which is fully funding special education, updating the transportation funding formula, and adjusting the material supplies and operating costs. What's actually happening, though, is the legislature is focusing on the big two. They really have not moved forward with any transportation bills. There were 2 bills introduced, but neither moved. With special education, 4 bills have been introduced. 1 is currently alive, and it has advanced out of the Chamber of Origin. And with MSOC, 2 bills were introduced. 1 died, 1 is alive. And so the table below shows those bills that are still alive, and the potential revenue should those the language in those bills, for example, in special education, they're increasing what they call the funding multiplier, so additional funds per student. And then the Senate Bill 5192, which is the MSOC bill, and again, MSOC is material supplies and operating costs. That I believe gives us another $123 per pupil, and so that could provide an additional $3.6 million in revenue. All right, just a reminder though that one of the reasons special ed is part of our big three is we anticipate a $22 million funding gap in special education this year. And so that proposed funding from the Senate Bill 5263 still only provides a quarter of what is needed to fill this gap. So the other area of focus for us for the last 2 sessions was the what we're calling a statute correction or front funding. The official language is correct non-voted debt rules to be consistent with other capital funding rules. So again, Senator Dhingra, we worked with her and she agreed to sponsor this bill, and we are really close to getting it across the finish line. Again, we've had a coalition of support with other districts, and so more details. House Bill 1796 was introduced by Representative Callan. We had the Senate early learning hearing last week, and an executive session is scheduled for later this week. So it must pass through Senate Ways and Means before a Senate floor vote, and we're hoping that the bill stays clean, which means it doesn't have any other amendments. Otherwise, it has to go back to the Senate. Senate Bill 5095, which was introduced by Senator Dhingra, didn't have as smooth as a road as the House bill. It had multiple amendments in its committees. District staff and board members testified in each committees, but ultimately it was agreed that the House version of the bill would be the vehicle to move forward. And just back on the House bill, Dr. Holman and Director Yoakum recently testified at the latest hearings. So again, continuing to testify each time it comes up for hearing. So, and then our ongoing priorities, we have multiple ongoing priorities, and our legislators have introduced a handful of bills that touched on these priorities, although about half have dropped off at this point. So just to talk about sustainable transportation and construction, the clean 2 bills were introduced to provide hardship waivers for clean buildings compliance. One was specific to school districts, and the other one was more broad. Unfortunately, the school bill did not advance out of committee, but there's a potential for a school-specific amendment. The Senate then introduced 2 bills addressing transportation vehicle reimbursement that are both still advancing. The first bill would allow districts to use the Transportation Vehicle Fund, which is currently only able to be used for yellow school buses. to allow it to be used for other vehicle types, for example, vans for student transportation, which would give districts more flexibility in the vehicle types they use to transport students. The second proposal would eliminate vehicle reimbursement or state depreciation funds for vehicles that have been purchased with the assistance of state and federal grants. This is not a good thing for us. We're concerned that that could impact districts' ability to participate in the alternate fuel funding grant programs. So we're continuing to watch that. So the other things that we've been working on every year, and unfortunately it's not moving forward again this year, but simple majority for school bonds. There were proposals, and you have to have a resolution and bill to move concurrently. The resolution creates the initiative that goes before the voters on the ballot for a constitutional amendment, while the bill implements once it is voted for by voters. So it requires a 2/3 majority, and so it can't be passed along party lines, so it calls for support across party lines. The House proposal did not have the support to get out of committee, and so we thought things were looking promising on the Senate side, which ended up to be a 55% threshold. But in the end, the Senate bill was amended to reduce the threshold to 50%. And then there was other amendments to eliminate school impact fees. And so ultimately the bill and the resolution did not receive a floor vote. So the other areas is just in areas of enhancing staffing allocation. There was substitute teachers falls under enhancing staffing allocation. House Bill 1396 was introduced as a comprehensive K-12 funding bill. Other people refer to it as the kitchen sink because it included lots of different things such as levy funding, special education funding, and substitute funding for substitute teachers. This proposal would have increased the daily rate for certificated substitutes and added one more day to the funding formula. And it also created new funding for classified substitutes because districts do not receive any funding for classified substitutes at this time. So unfortunately, because it contained multiple provisions with a large price tag, it did not make it out of committee. So the other areas that I just want to mention under staff salary and benefits is there is a bill out there in an effort to cut costs. The Senate proposed a bill that would reset the National Board of Professional Certification bonuses. The initial proposal would have suspended them altogether, but there was a hearing, and then they reset the bonuses to a lower amount at $3,000. And Dr. Holman testified in support of our teachers against any changes to the funding. So again, we're keeping an eye on that. The other piece is Washington Paid Family Medical Leave. Is a program that was implemented by the state in January of 2021 with no funding by the legislature. So its payroll taxes are paid both by the employer and the employee. And since 2021, rates have continued to rise significantly. And so we continue to express our concerns over rate increases and ensuring that the program is self-sufficient. So two bills are one bill, House Bill 1213, addresses some of the challenges districts have experienced, but it also expands the program by allowing some additional time off. And so we've shared those concerns. And then Senate Bill 5292 attempts to stabilize the premium rates by using and making them make an actuary instead of the current formula. So just looking ahead is the budget proposals. Both the House and the Senate dropped their biennium budgets today. And so we are analyzing what is in those budget bills, and we'll be able to provide kind of what is the impact to the district. And so they are holding hearings on Tuesday and executive sessions on Thursday. And then the other thing that Right now, there's been a lot of talk about the education programs and operations levy and increasing the levy lids to provide more resources for districts. Bills were introduced in both the House and Senate, though neither advanced. And one of the major challenges for that is a levy lid increase has to be accompanied by state funding for local effort assistance. Lake Washington doesn't receive local effort assistance, but many districts do. So that is, because that's a cost, that's why many of the bills did not advance. But legislators are continuing to discuss this option, and it could be revived as necessary to adopt the budget. So we are keeping an eye on that as well. So that concludes my mid-session update. And again, I appreciate appreciate the board members that have gone down and testified virtually. Appreciate all your support with these bills.
Thank you very much. Were there any questions? No? Oh, yes, Director Guthrie.
The front funding bill, as the Senate version was making its way through the Senate, there was an amendment that was adopted and then I think went away to basically say that if you're using the front fund, if you're front funding, then you don't get SCAP funds.
Correct.
And is that likely to pop up as the House vehicle now makes its way through the Senate? What are the odds of that?
We don't believe it will, but anything's possible. So they that was the Senator Dingra and Callan, they agreed to use the House version to move forward. And so hopefully all of those discussions have happened before and they're moving forward with the House version.
Yeah, I think Senator Dingra is working with her colleagues, that there may have been some, I don't know, misunderstanding around front funding, and there was a concern around like double dipping, like the state providing double resource. And so I know there's been some work to really just clarify that front funding is a mechanism for local communities. SCAP is a state program, and districts are either eligible or not eligible based on the SCAP rules, and like the two really don't relate to one another. So I know Senator Dingra is doing quite a bit of work with her colleagues related to that.
Another question, Director Guthrie?
I know too on front funding, looking at the sign-ins, it looks like there was an organization outside of our district that was signing in con against it. Is that a concern, or do we need to rally the troops in our district and in some of the supporting districts as well? Like I know Issaquah is very interested in this as well, to sort of reinforce what the community's perspective on that is.
So I testified in person for the first time last week on the front funding bill, and I got to see Director Yoakum and one of our community members testify. And I'll say their comments were well received in the room. I also know that I believe it's the CFO from Issaquah was testifying, and the committee had some questions. I know one of their questions is, how broadly are people interested in this from across the state? And so as you have connections with colleagues from across the state, we do have a coalition of districts that they're small district, large districts, Puget Sound region, Southern Washington, Eastern Washington. So we have districts from all across the state that are interested in this, and so continuing to ask them to sign in as pro and indicate their intentions and support is definitely beneficial.
Director Stewart.
Who was this con group, and do we know what constitutes them, or what coalition they are?
We don't know the coalition. I've heard a couple of individuals testify con, and it really isn't about the front funding bill. It's really about, there's two things. One, a concern that the state isn't providing funding for school construction. that it shouldn't just be local communities. So on that, I, kind of agree with them on that. I don't, not on their con, but the other is there's just a general sense around taxes. So kind of anything tax signing in, but not really understanding the actual front funding bill itself.
But not an organized coalition or an organized.
Yeah, there's not a big presence.
Okay.
Director Yoakum.
I was going to say after I found the same, or after Vice President Guthrie alerted me to that all signing in con, I reached out to advocacy, Lake Washington PTSA advocacy, who that is our a community member, sorry, who then actually reached out to many of the other local school districts, because I believe that those PTSA and those advocacy groups are well connected. So being able to explain that to our PTSA members, for them to then be able to kind of go out and amongst themselves and share that. So I hope that was helpful, and I want to continue doing that. So alert me when those things happen, please.
Thank you, Director Yoakum. All right. No further one more question. Director Guthrie.
You said that we're looking at just under $6 million from 5263 special education funding. Remind me, how much of our special education funding right now comes from the federal government?
So we received $7.5 million under our IDEA from the federal government. So.
Thank you. I think we're done with questions. The next item on our agenda this evening is the monitoring of results 1, the mission of Lake Washington School District, one of our 3 results policies. Following the presentation, the board will have an opportunity for questions and comments. Dr. Holman, will you please present a summary of the monitoring report?
Absolutely. I appreciate my team putting my picture on the slide. That is, I believe that was our school visit. Was that Mann? I believe that was. But anyways, results 1 is the looking at the mission vision of the district. We look at a variety of data that help us understand really the progress and work related to the kind of the ultimate outcome of students finishing the journey in their K-12, and then how are they transitioning into post-secondary and those experiences. And so Dale Cody's here to provide the board with his 5th and final R1 report, and appreciate some of the questions we received last week, and we have some data that's associated with those questions. I really appreciated those conversations. So, Dale.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. There's 2 things I like about this picture. 1, there are kids in the picture. And 2, there's sheer happiness on Dr. Holman's face when you look at him smiling there. And I seriously, I appreciate that. R1's the manifestation of our district mission and vision. Our mission, each student will graduate prepared to lead a rewarding and responsible life as a contributing member of our community and our greater society. And our vision, every student future ready, prepared for college, prepared for the global workplace, prepared for personal success, equipping every student for a successful future. The superintendent's interpretation of R1. Students must have opportunities to learn in a rich curriculum and inclusive classrooms, and have access to learning opportunities that encourage ongoing growth and development. Every student learns and achieves at high levels, and it is our responsibility to help each student learn, grow, and be challenged while they acquire knowledge and skills that will help them to be successful in an ever-changing world. Students must be equipped to lead a life that is personally rewarding and professionally meaningful. I want to highlight our continued commitment to equity. R1 is really the accumulation of the R2 and 3 and all the OEs. And in each of those, all speak to our work around equitable education for all of our students, to ensure academic success for all students by closing opportunity gaps for students and providing equitable, inclusive working and learning environments for all students, families, staff, and communities. As we look at the R1 data, we're talking about small numbers of students not being successful, but yet it's still important to focus on each and every student in order for them to be successful. So as we progress through this report, I will speak to how we are addressing students further from educational justice, from a systems, a schools, and a leadership perspective. There's a through line for our work, all the way down to each and every student being successful. As you know, a reminder, our results one indicators, percent of students graduating in 4 years, our on-time rate, percentage of students not dropping out of high school, percentage of students graduating in 7 years, percentage of graduates completing at least one dual credit course with a B or higher during high school, percent of ninth graders earning credit for all courses attempted, and the percentage enrolling in post-secondary within 2 years. So our graduation rates. Our all students on-time graduation rate for 2024 is 93.3, ranking 5th out of 10 benchmarking districts. Highlighting our Asian student population at 97%, ranking 1st. Highlighting our 2 or more races at 96.4%, ranking 1st. And noting a positive annual trend from students from low-income households. I've talked about small numbers of students. If you do the math and you look at, for example, our Black African-American students, that shows there are 9 students that did not graduate on time. And spread across all of our high schools, that number becomes even smaller. Like, we put names and faces to these kids. Same goes true if we do the math for our Hispanic Latino. That shows that 51 students did not graduate on time. Again, across all of our system, those are smaller numbers of students. When students leave our system, we work hard to gather data on why. So this chart indicates the reasons that we report to the state. We can only report one reason per student. So I noticed some things in this data. One, if we look at our unknown, no reason given. In other words, we don't know why a student left our system. In 2023, there were 15 students. In 2024, it almost doubled. If we look at our transfer unconfirmed, similarly, in 2023, there were 22 students that left our system, and in 2024, there were 45. Registrars, counselors, many people do a lot of work to try to find and track students. So transfer unconfirmed essentially means Dale Cody says he's transferring to a school in Nevada, but we don't have any confirmation that I actually landed in a school, so we have to code them as transfer unconfirmed or that I was a dropout. That doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but these numbers really impact our graduation rate. For example, if the data on unknown or unconfirmed for 2024 was the same as 2023, our graduation rate would be 95.6%. And if we just took away the unknown and just looked at the transfer unconfirmed, and if that were the same, our graduation rate would be 95.2%. I put up here the top 5 district rankings, the class of 24 enrollment and on-time graduation rate. As you look at that, what I notice is the difference between the district ranking 2 and Lake Washington School District is 1.5%, with Mercer Island obviously being the highest at 97.2%. I also took those same districts and looked at their graduation rates over time. Green means they improved from the year prior. Red means that they declined from the year prior. I dug a little further, and when I looked at all 10 benchmarking school districts, 7 out of 10 had declined in their graduation rate from 2023 to 2024. 2 had no change and 1 had an increase. As we look around the state, 91,000, almost 92,000 students, seniors in class of 2024. For us, it was 2,055. Over the course of time, just noting that we are 10 to 12 percentage points higher than the district year in and year out. Percentage of students that not dropping out. So 95.6%, ranking 7 out of 10 benchmarking districts. High percentage of Asian and students never receiving ML services at 98.2 and 98.1%, with a positive annual trend for our low-income students. Percentage of students graduating in 7 years, 95.3%, with a positive annual trend of our Black African American students at 1.7%. Sorry, here, I get my mouse to work. I can't see it. Maybe. I don't know, I like this chart. We've used it every year, so I'm going to use it at least for my last time. As we look at the student flow for the class of 2024. So we had 2,172 students starting 9th grade in Lake Washington School District for the class of 2024. Over time, we see that 210 students transferred out. We see that 241 students transferred in. We see that there were 97 students that dropped out. We have 2,055 students that graduated on time and 51 students continuing their high school education. Here it is. So the class of 2024 shows a significant difference in on-time rates for students that began in Lake Washington School District since the start of 9th grade. So students who enrolled in the Lake Washington School District at the start of 9th grade graduated in 4 years at a rate of 95.1%. Students who enrolled in the Lake Washington School District at the start of students who enrolled after the start of the 9th grade had a graduation rate of 75.6%. One of the questions last week was really like, who are those students that transfer into us? Thank you, Dr. Krieger, who does such a great job of providing almost instant data. I was teasing him earlier today because I asked a question, he got right back to me, and I asked him what took so long. So this chart he provided us. So these are the demographics of students starting in 9th grade versus transferring in and the percentages. So I'd highlight a couple things. So there's 11% of starting 9th graders were Hispanic Latino, while 25.7% of transfers were Hispanic Latino. 4.7% of starting 9th graders were students eligible for ML services, while 38% of transfers were students eligible for ML services. And then the last one I'll point out is 14.6% starting 9th grade were students from low-income households, while 38.2% of transfers were students from low-income households. Percent of students enrolling in post-secondary. So we're at 79.2% with a negative annual trend. We received this data from the National Clearinghouse. Our Black African American students have a very positive annual trend. We'll watch closely. Our data around this has really been in decline for the last few years. Cost of college, declining enrollment. Thinking about whether there'd be a systematic response or not due to college, the cost of college, et cetera, is an interesting question as we look at the data. However, we do have senior intent. I usually have verbalized this data. I just put it at a table to make it easier. So each year for the last 2 or 3 years, we've sent out a senior intent survey. So we had a 76% return rate this year. Last year was 57%. So we've done a better job of getting students to reply. So as you can see, the intention, 84% of them intend to go to 4-year, 9% intend to go to a 2-year community college or technical vocational, 4-year, a gap semester or year, 3%, I said 4 years, 4%, 3% working or an apprenticeship, less than 1% military, and less than 1% undecided.
And Dale, can you remind me your 2-year community college or technical voc school, does the technical and vocational ed show up in the data that we receive, or is it just 2-year community college? Do you recall?
From the National Clearinghouse, mm-hmm. I want to be accurate. Okay. I want to say it's the 2-year community college, but I can follow up and find out for sure.
I believe it is as well,
yeah.
And I know more and more students are thinking about the trades mm-hmm. For ongoing work, and so it's not surprising to me that there's apprenticeships and that the technical vocational is, along with a two-year community college, almost 10%. So, okay, thank you.
And it might be interesting to see that, like, if we can separate out the two, who are attending two-year, who are attending, and what is the trend around technical vocational, because I believe that to be true.
And while 76% is a high return rate, especially for seniors.
Yes.
Thank you for participating in the senior survey this year.
Over there. These data are students who completed at least one dual credit course. Dual credit courses are any courses that designated as like AP, college and high school, tech prep, Cambridge, International Baccalaureate, or Running Start. So we had 97.2% of graduated completed a dual credit course with a B or higher during high school, which is near a target of 95%. And we see a positive annual trend for all 5 of our subgroups. 9th grade credits. I think there's some interesting things to show as we go through here. We have 86.9% of 9th graders earn full credit. This is about 8% away from our target, with a positive annual trend for all students in this category. What are the things, a few of the things that we've been working on, I think you know, for the last few years anyway. Things like grading practices can impact whether students earn a credit in a class. And are students able to demonstrate their learning in multiple ways? Supporting 8th to 9th grade transition success. Vertical alignment and discussions. It's some of the work our division's doing with level directors and principals, not just 8th to 9th, but 5th to 6th, even though this data is specific to the R1. Just thinking about transitions and how do we help our students through that. Our secondary administrators are being mindful about how are they strategically placing co-taught courses. For example, I think there was a visit at Redmond High School, I'll just use that one as an example, where the principal and admin were looking at placing co-teaching in those courses like algebra and biology that have a little higher percentage of students not earning credit in those. And then you'll hear throughout this moving forward is also just conversations with students about their learning experience and what are the information that they can share with us that we can learn from. This is one of those, I asked Tim this morning and 5 minutes later this popped back into my inbox, so I appreciate that, Dr. Krieger. This chart, if we look at 12% of graduates on time for a year had at least one course where they didn't earn full credit in 9th grade. 34% of dropouts had at least one course where they didn't earn full credit in 9th grade. And 29% of continuing students, those going to a 5th year, had at least one course they didn't earn full credit in the 9th grade. This just highlights the impact of not earning full credit in 9th grade, which is also, I think, why it's on our results monitoring, because it's really that important to follow. As we move into kind of our theory of action, this theory of action is the same theory of action as R2, because everything that leads up and through that leads to the results in here. If we systematically analyze student performance data, implement evidence-based instructional practices, utilize high-quality curriculum, provide meaningful professional learning for administrators and teachers, plan for differentiated support for student, foster culture of high expectation and continuous improvement, and ensure alignment with state standards, then we will achieve substantial and sustainable growth in overall academic performance across all grade levels and subject areas, resulting in enhanced student achievement, increased graduation rates, and improved college and career readiness for all of our students. All of our work as a district flows into R1. I know you see the slide. There's lots of reasons I like it. First of all, it's descriptive. When you look at the different types of data, satellite being big and broad, map being a little bit closer, and street data being closer even yet. Historically in education, I've been in it long enough, 38 years. I remember that we really hung a lot of our hat on satellite data, big broad data, and didn't do a really good job of drilling down. We're doing a better job of drilling down, even to the point of getting student voice in and really trying to understand their experiences in schools to help inform the work we do. So broadly, we do well, but we look at all these data sources to help us understand the problem we're solving more effectively. From a systematic approach, we look at a multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS, inclusion and equity. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I was going to talk about, from a systematic approach, number 2, MTSS Tier 1 instruction. That's just what happens between teachers and students each and every day. Are they providing quality instruction to these students? I want to talk about PLCs and PPLCs. PLCs, I don't want to assume that you know what they mean, so I'm going to take a minute because we throw acronyms around all the time in education. So PLC stands for Professional Learning Community, and it's a group of educators that meets regularly. It could be grade level, it could be content, or it could be mixed in some areas. They have, on many of our LEAP Wednesdays, they have time then to get together. But what do they do when they get together? They utilize a cycle of inquiry to address really 4 questions. And they seem simple, and I'll read them to you. But if they do a good job of really digging into this and using a cycle of inquiry, you can see the power of what professionals can accomplish when they get together. First question, what do we want students to know or be able to do? Second question, how will we know that they've learned it? Third question, how will we respond if some students don't learn it? And finally, how will we extend learning to those who have already learned it? I could spend an hour talking about each one of those questions and how to respond, and what teachers and teams of educators do around that. So number 3, when we talk about, let me pause for a second. The reason for that is that's the Tier 1 instruction. It's not just that Dale Cody didn't get it. Where do I place him? Where do I put him? It's what do I do? And if I'm sharing with a team member or team members about different ways to intervene or whatever that might be, that's really powerful than just me sitting in space by myself trying to figure out what to do with Dale. That sounds really weird using myself in first and third person. So we think about Tier 1 instruction, that's a really powerful tool that we have as a system. If we look at expanded coaching, which has to do with MTSS coaches we have our level directors, we have consultants that come into play, and I'll loop in number 4 around professional learning as well. We're really looking at job embedded. We're good about pulling people here into the boardroom and then giving them professional learning and having them go away and do. We're shifting more and more to actually being in classrooms with teachers and with administrators. So more job embedded. Deepening our work on inclusion, inclusionary practices. Just a couple of thoughts on that. We have professional development provided by the district on inclusionary practices. Many of our teachers and administrators identify a group of students and follow their experiences in general education classrooms, asking them about their experiences, connecting IAs, paras, and teachers together to discuss how to continue to support students' access to grade level standards where appropriate, develop co-teaching models, are just a few examples of some of the work we do there. The multi-department division collaboration, if we're not rowing in the same direction, which sounds really simple, it does cause some challenges down the road. Back to the through line, what we do centrally helps our leaders, help our teachers impact students at a high level. So we centrally have to be mindful of how are we collaborating, how are we working together. So then if we go down to the school level, schools set academic goals. I'm up here to the top right here in the form of school improvement plans. We're going to shift this year. We're shifting our focus on school improvement plans on key performance indicators based on school data. This allows for a systematic approach for us to provide direct supports and professional learning to schools. And it just makes sense. If these are the things that we're reporting to you on, what then are schools specifically doing and setting their goals around should be tied to those things as well. And that just allows for a better system of support, as I mentioned. When I look at student growth goals happening at the school level, there's a shift in the state around student growth goals. And they are a process that emphasizes learning, growth, and reflection of both students and teachers. The purpose is to promote instructional practice that is culturally responsive, socially and emotionally literate, and inclusive of each. Student growth goals, as an example, really require teachers to have cultural knowledge, academic and social emotional knowledge of their students. and it requires feedback from students on their learning. So as teachers go out and set student growth goals for their students, working in a PLC and otherwise, it really requires getting to know the student, having their voice in it, and it's kind of an ongoing process for whatever unit study that they have. The revised Danielson framework, Scott said it earlier, we can't evaluate to improve practice. I think one of the mistakes, and I was here and part of it, that we made when we first implemented Danielson 10 or more years ago, was that it became about the evaluation. And that's really it's really not what Charlotte Danielson wants to have happen. They want this framework to be a discussion about how to improve. So we have opportunity here in the revised Danielson framework to really talk about the philosophical approach to understanding and promoting great teaching and learning. It's a vision of instructional excellence and a roadmap for pursuing it, and a set of practices that describe it. Grade level teams, professional learning communities for leaders can align their work to support the school improvement plan and goals. It's really going to enable, our goal is to have ongoing conversation about professional growth. And oh, by the way, in the end, yes, the state says we have to score. But I think trying to get away from what was my score each and every time, and that's hard. Teachers are proud of the work that they do. They want to do well. They want to be proficient and distinguished. We want them to be proficient and distinguished. But I think we have to flip it around to say that happens as a result of the work you do throughout the course of your career or the course of the year. If those things are going to happen at the school level, we need to have leaders. So we are and have been continuing to work on centering principals as instructional leaders. We know the most important thing that happens for kids is what happens between teachers and students. The second most important thing that happens by research is what happens between administrators and teachers. And then I would argue what happens between level directors, myself, central office, back to that through line of the work that we do. So all of those things are important. I'm not going to read through each one of these. Some of it's repetitive. For example, revised Danielson framework. Well, that's not only happening at the building level. If it's going to happen at the building level and done well, we have to have administrators lead that work. We have to have administrators empower teacher leaders to lead that work, and so on. So some of these I've spoke to. I want to speak to a little bit more about the professional learning communities of our building administrators. So for the last few years, we've taken a little bit different approach. We've done some good work with pulling people here and talking about good practice. We have shifted with support and help from the Center for Educational Leadership from the University of Washington. And our level directors work directly with principals. And one of the questions we ask is, who are you most concerned about in your school and why? And we're talking large schools, small schools. And every one of them, we're talking about 10 to 12 students, maybe at the most. That's not very many. But as you can imagine, when you ask why, well, why are you concerned about these students academically? Well, I look at this data, I look at this data, I look at that's what they're telling us. And then as you can imagine, those are the students in the subgroups that we very much need to impact. So we don't go and say, find the students who are in the gaps that we need to close. That happens more organically. And then when they identify those students, and now we have names and faces to kids, and now we go in and we go into classrooms and we use an inquiry cycle. We work with identifying what the student learning problem of practice might be, what the teacher teaching problem of practice might be. And then we go into classrooms and gather some information and data. So that's now turned into our administrators are in teams, and they go through learning walks quite often throughout the year. So there might be 4 or 5 that go to a school and they'll go into classrooms. They'll talk about what are you seeing through the lens of the student's focus group. So there might be 2 students of that administrator focus group in that classroom. It's amazing what you can learn by watching instruction through their lens. Whereas typically when you're in a classroom, or formally when you've been in a classroom, you look at the overall instruction and you might walk away and say, I've used this example often, the engagement was great. But then you go into the classroom again and you say, the engagement was great, students were raising their hand, they're turning and talking, but our 2 ML students that were focused on didn't raise their hand, didn't turn and talk, didn't participate in groups. So that's the level of specificity. And then when we are able to get their voice in and work with the teacher about how do you lesson plan for those two students, because your rest of your students are doing it, we believe that can be really powerful in the end. So I did want to take a moment and talk about the principal professional learning community. Lastly, we love the phrase on the lower right. If every single one of our students can leave each day happy and proud, then I think that's a pretty good experience to have. If they go home and mom and dad say, how was your day? And they're happy and proud of the work they did and the experience they had, then we've been successful. Let's see, is all my notes. As I talk about throughout, the R1 data speak to small numbers of students. And we know to make incremental improvements, we need to understand the experience of students to both individualize responses to support, but also look for patterns that become systematic responses. So we present this R1 to you. I don't know, John, if Dr. Holman, if I'm supposed to say this or not. With reasonable, I wrote it down, I lost my space.
Reasonable progress with noted exceptions.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Any questions? Director Stewart.
Going back to the 9th grade problem and if they didn't if they missed a credit in 9th grade and how that had an impact on their on-time graduation. You'd mentioned earlier algebra and I believe one of the sciences. Is that usually the class that is the tripping point? God knows it was mine.
Yeah, actually I have it here. I didn't share that data.
I was just curious.
Sorry.
I think Scott shared it during the study session, and I think there was some commonalities around 9th grade English, algebra, and I think there's some, is it biology? I believe may have been the other one.
Yeah. It's here. It's Algebra 1, Health PE, World History, Biology, English Language Arts, and Art. Those were the students without full credit for the 23-24. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Director Yoakum.
Thank you. Looking at the historical dropout codes or numbers right there, do we know when these occur within a student's high school experience? Is it, yeah, especially with those unknown or transfers, it like, do we have that information?
Yes.
Great.
I'm kidding.
No.
Long pause. And again, Tim provided that data to me today as well. I didn't include it. My question was it typical or atypical of what we saw? And so for the last 2 years, it was typical. And I don't have, I mean, I could get that to you, Director Yoakum, but they did show there were, some in 9th, some in 10th, increasing 11th, and probably most in 12th. But I wondered, this class may have been impacted by COVID or was impacted by COVID. To what degree and to the impact as the data we see is hard to draw that correlation. However, I just wondered if was there a larger number in 9th, 10th grade compared to, and Tim was able to pull the year previous, and there wasn't any notable differences.
That was my wondering if that was our, right, post-COVID, right back to school class. That's what I was wondering. Okay. So thank you.
Director Guthrie.
Are we seeing similar declines in post-secondary participation statewide? I know that we're seeing that here. Yeah, and I'm just wondering if that's part of a broader trend or if that's something somewhat specific to Lake Washington.
I haven't seen data specific to the broader trend, but I think from the National Clearinghouse, we might be able to derive some of what that looks like across.
Yeah, last time I looked at it, yes, it's a trend in the state of Washington, but also nationally. There's been a significant gap between pre-COVID and post-COVID enrollment rates. At one point in time, I think it was almost 1.5 million less college students that were enrolled. I think that was 2021. And so I don't believe they've returned to the degree that they were pre-COVID.
Director Yoakum.
Kind of on that lines, the survey that is sent out to students, the graduating class, when is that sent out?
I believe it's sent out in the spring sometime.
Okay.
Like June 24th? Like, no.
Yeah, we want a higher return rate, Dr. Holman.
Any other questions? Yes, Director Stewart.
Thank you for your last report, Dale.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Holman.
Yes, and to that point, I think you can hear in Dale's comments, voice, and energy that he's still passionate about this work, and greatly appreciate him being passionate about this work.
Thank you.
Hearing no more questions, thank you, Dr. Holman, and thank you. Well, no, what's his official title? Associate Superintendent Cody, for the overview and the clarifications. Now, it is the board's responsibility to consider the report and data as evidence of reasonable progress, with noted exceptions in this results area. I will now entertain a motion to approve the monitoring report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberte and seconded by Director Stewart to approve the monitoring report for results 1. Is there any further discussion? Director LaLiberte.
Okay. I had similar comments last year, and I'll try to be more careful with my words this year. And if not, I'll get it right next year. When I look at this report every year, I'm always reminded that I have to remind myself that the graduation rate is both a function of the numerator and the denominator. And I really appreciate breaking apart the data and showing that a large driver of the lower graduation rate this year than last year is students that said they transferred that we can't confirm. And that work is important, that work of data collection and tracking. And it's important that we have our data consistent with what OSPI requires. I think it goes without saying. So far, I'm doing better than last year. And when I think about what we're using this for, and earlier today when we were having a school board information session, you reminded me that a big part of R1 is evaluating the superintendent. I wonder about the usefulness of what we're using graduation rates for now in the evaluation of the superintendent, because successfully tracking down students is not student achievement. I think everyone would agree with that. And graduation rate is important. It's important that we monitor it, and it's important that we celebrate it. And I wonder how, let me actually put it this way. I don't think it's now, I'm going to say this very precisely. I don't think it's that telling of superintendent performance anymore. I think there are other ways when we're thinking about whether we're achieving the vision of the district. I think we may want to elevate other metrics over that as we think about it. I think that's what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. I'll pause there. Oh, yeah, one more, sorry. Of course. Similarly, the extended graduation rate, it's great to have an increasing 7-year extended graduation rate than the 4-year graduation rate. A wonder I have when I look at that is how much of that is just we were able to track down students that had transferred out, and so we have a higher graduation rate because the denominator was lower. So I guess the ask I would have is if we could unpack that a little bit more. I don't know if I necessarily need that in a report, but I think I would just like to see that a little bit more. Like what is is the higher extended graduation rate a function of, some of it I know is a function of we are graduating more students over that period of time, and that is great, and that's worth celebrating. That's really important work. That's more important to me than knowing where every student transferred.
Is there an ask in that comment?
Yeah, thank you. Could I just get like a very short board brief on the extended graduation rate and how to understand that?
I actually meant your other point.
My other point?
Yeah. Are you requesting?
Well, I'd like to hear more from other people on that before
Okay.
I make any requests.
Director Stewart.
I tend to agree on the overall graduation rate. I'm really interested in the moving of the subgroups, and I'm very pleased to see what the movement, especially of the low-income group, which usually has folks moving in and out of the district quite often. You have a lower income group, you're going to have a lot of movement from one part of town to another town to another town to another town more often than not. I came from a district that had a very high rotation rate, if you will, around districts because of the nature of the oil business. I would be more interested, again, in the subgroups and how they are improving or not improving as an indicator, because I think that showing those indicators that they're having a better rate, to me, it's hard to move the 95, to be quite frank. But when you can move the subgroups, to me that's very meaningful to a lot of individual kids when you get down to it. And to me that's almost more important than moving that big needle. As far as the Director Liberty's second point, I religiously attend the late graduation ceremony, and it's one of my favorites. And I see increasing numbers each year, it seems like. And it's such a different experience than from the auditorium or the field house graduations. It is an emotional impact that you just can't duplicate.
Yes, Dr. Holman.
That just made me realize something with the new interpretation of IDEA providing services to 22. It just caused me to wonder if OSPI is going to report a 8th year graduation rate. So it just struck me in this moment, so I'll look into that. Tim's watching right now, and he probably already has that answer, so.
He probably just stroked it at this point.
Director Guthrie.
To Director Liberty's point too, and we've talked a little bit, we talked at our extended study session a lot about R2 and sort of thinking about how to start digging into that a little bit more productively. And I wonder if some of the considerations that you're bringing up could be in sort of a different way to monitor R1, which is part of what we've also sort of looked at. Because I agree, I don't really have an interest in staff taking time tracking down students in Nevada or wherever, rather than serving the students that we have here, just so that reports look good for the board and for the superintendent. And at the same time, you know, being honest with ourselves, and that is one of the results that our community expects, is for us to be able to successfully graduate students. So I, as I was looking through this report and thinking about how, you know, if we were to not just do in March, sort of look at R1 and then put it away for another year, what that could start to look like, and maybe getting at a little bit more of that. You know, I pictured potentially looking sort of year to year, right? Because we get a snapshot of these students in 9th grade, at the end of 9th grade, and then we see them when they graduate, and there's nothing in between to say how are they flowing through our system? Are we being successful with them? Are we not? Like where are we seeing successes, and where are we not? And that might start to get at some of the interest, or looking at particular subgroups like that transfer subgroup. I definitely appreciate Tim's efforts. He promised he wouldn't work over the weekend, but I have a feeling he broke that promise. But that was really interesting data. I mean, 40% of those transfer students being low income, those students from low income households, you know, that is really. I guess not surprising, but just sort of really impactful to see those numbers like that, and understanding that it's you know, a really different cohort, and how are we making sure that cohort sees success. I think that might start to get at a little bit more genuinely, like, what is our real performance here, which I think is the interest that we all share, is being honest about that, and, you know, again, not chasing down unconfirmed transfer students.
Director Yoakum.
Well, I have something, but it's not related to this, so I can hold off if there's still discussion. Yes.
Director Liberty. No? Okay. I agree with what Director Guthrie was saying. We've kind of, we're moving towards relooking at how we monitor our results next year, and I agree. I think that this might be an opportunity to progress monitor a component within R1. I think for me, the most interesting data that kind of popped out was the information around ninth graders who are not completing a course, and if there was an opportunity to really focus on an area of R1, that seems to be the area. In our study session today, there was talk about reinvestment of dollars potentially into our high schools, and if there was a focus on that transition between 8th and 9th grade and helping our 9th graders succeed, that would be an interesting case study to then see if we got a higher graduation rate by 12th grade, and kind of progress monitoring them each year. I think that's probably a really good example of at least what I envisioned when we talked about progress monitoring for results. I did have a question regarding that data and maybe the work with our 9th graders. How much of kind of the prep for when they're selecting their coursework for 9th grade begins in 8th grade, and kind of what is that support system for that transition? Do you have an answer, Dr. Holman?
I have one layer of a response. I don't think I have the full response. And so our high school counselors go and visit with our 8th graders. So they go to campus, they present in classes, so it isn't like all 8th graders come to the gym. And so they go to classes, they, you know, have a formal presentation, they talk about the process, talk about the graduation requirements. And I think that's the layer I have. I will ask the team to provide the board with more information about, like, what are the details underneath that, because along with our counselors going to schools, there's a layer of support there that they work to help students make sure they're registering for the correct classes, knowing that as they're registering, there's some key requirements that our counselors are looking for them.
I also have one more statement, but it's going to make me incredibly unpopular with all the seniors.
Can I say something really quickly to that before you make them mad?
Well,
mad?
It's on this topic.
Okay, yep, mine is too, but.
I'm debating if I should say it or not. I have a curiosity. I know that it's tradition. I did it myself when I was in high school, that there is a desire. Senioritis is a real thing. You work really hard. You create your schedules to make space so that you might be able to take a period off in your senior year. I know there's probably rules around when students may be able to take a period off. It would make sense to me, though, if we were looking at 9th graders needing potentially like more support in that transition to high school, that like that option to maybe take 5 periods instead of 6. would be the most beneficial for our 9th graders versus our 12th graders? Just putting that out there.
Just a quick question. How would you reach your 24 credits?
How are you reaching it as a 12th grader, taking a period off?
Well, right now I have 7 classes, so I'm
asking Suneri. Suneri.
Wait, I'm like a little confused about how that would work because
it wouldn't. Like, I'm not
most
proposing
9th graders
it as
can't
a
like
thing.
drive or anything either, so I feel like that would be really hard to arrange transportation if that were ever to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not proposing it as something that we do next year. It's just things like that would be interesting, really tailored strategies to try and support our 9th graders.
Are we able to, or not me, but like future freshmen or like future grades, are they able to take a period off with the new schedule, like while still getting all their high school credits?
If they have like classes.
So the majority of high schoolers in Lake Washington start with 1 credit already for high school. A large portion, I think it's over 50%, start with 2, and about 20% start with 3 credits already. We have many students that participate in more than their kind of required core. So we have students right now participating in 9 classes. So they're doing 0 and 7th period along with their 7 classes. And so I'm assuming that'll remain true. We have students that access outside credit. And so right now the policy is 3, that'll move to 7. So will students be able to? In the prior 6-period schedule, we had the average student was graduating with 26.5 credits, and we had seniors having a reduced schedule. And so those are all my data to say I would presume that seniors will continue to do that. And I didn't hear anything about freshmen taking
I don't think
less than full
freshmen would
credit.
be the best.
Director
I don't think they're the
Yoko.
target market.
This is going back to when you asked that question about how much prep is there for 8th graders, and then to Dr. Holman's response, that does not exist for the choice schools that we have or for private schools. For some of the choice schools, counselors do not go into the choice school. So that was just one clarifying point that I wanted to point out.
There is a day, though, that the students can go to the high school for choice schools, at least LW.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Director Lillibert.
I'm glad I didn't say the wackiest thing tonight. Thank you, Director. Thank you, President Choi.
Actually, can I make one more point?
On that? Yeah, have at it.
I was noting the graphs this year go back all the way to 2016, which is actually super helpful. I went back and looked at last year's graphs, and they were only 4 years. The extra data is really helpful. And I did notice that the percent of 9th graders earning credits for all courses attempted has actually gone down since the introduction of a 7-period day. That, and obviously there was COVID in there too, but even the most recent classes haven't recovered to where the classes were pre-COVID, which is an interesting data point.
So maybe not the wackiest. Director Lillibert.
I want to make sure that our summary captures that. Good luck with that, by the way. That it continues to be great that we are. I think I should make sure I have this correct. Yes, again this year the number of students getting a B or higher in college credit. I'm sorry, in a class that offers college credit in high school, went up. And it's gone up consistently over time. I mean, it was at 91%, and it's now at 94.2%. Like that's something really worth celebrating. And for me, like when I look at this report, like that is data that I like focus in on to know that we're going in the right direction as a system. And I know not every student, their future is the future for every student is not college. In fact, we know more and more students are electing not to go that route. So, Director Choi very kindly pointed out that I didn't actually ask for anything earlier when I was just pontificating. and I'm like really hesitant to like ask for like yet another study session on like to like do like add to the work plan more, but I think, yeah, I mean, and this is longer term work. Like this is something to keep talking about, thinking about, and maybe we don't wrestle with this for 9 months, 12 months. That's fine. But I think really like thinking about like being more narrowly focused in results one about like what are the things that we think is future ready, and some of that's college, and trying to I'd be nice if we could come up with more things that are like dual credit, but fit more students' experiences, where we can really get that better sense of the direction the system's going. So I guess I do want a study session, but I don't need it to be like, it can be just like on the parking lot for the work plan.
Dr. Holman.
So tonight at our 4 o'clock informational session, you heard me talk about R1 and how we've done a deep dive around results 2 and results 3 with, I think, some good success, but that's about a year-long process. The board is entering into development of the work plan for next year, and so if the board is interested in considering R1, I think we should map that into the work plan for next year, not because it's not a single study session. I also believe that as we're doing the ongoing evaluation around high school day, I think that could be also informative for results 1, because I think there's some data elements that we will be tracking that could also be applicable to the board, and so it actually might be a really good time for the board to take a look at R1, because it would be in alignment with committee work that we're doing.
Director Yoakum.
Can I go on to a different topic, but a little bit along that line? Okay, and I did write it out, so I'm going to read it. He's not even here. I was going to thank Dale again for the work the work that went into really preparing this report and the presentation. And I had an opportunity today to discuss our results policies with PTSA members this morning. And I really enjoyed being able to share that this policy and the other 2 results policies are the foundation of the work and grounded in the values of our community. So just thank you. That is like the importance of what this is, and to really highlight that for everybody, to explain what these are. It was meaningful and I think beneficial. So the district has developed profiles for student, staff, and the organization, right, last year. And now if the mission and the vision set by the board drive decisions in the district, should we consider revising the mission and the vision to ensure that we're truly preparing for future ready generations? Does our listed vision align more with today's world rather than tomorrow's? I read the mission, which is the first sentence, and I really appreciate it. I see all students represented in this mission. However, I find it more challenging to accept the vision bullet points that are currently written. I don't believe that all students, regardless of their abilities or post-graduation plans, see themselves in this vision. Additionally, does this vision reflect the future-ready mindsets and skill sets that are included in our student profile? Instead of having this policy define our work around the strategic plan, perhaps we should refer to the profiles developed last year to help us revise this vision, maybe. So I think when Dr. Holman talks about exploring R1, I think that would be one of my interests, is looking more at what is that, looking at those vision bullet points. Not the mission, but the last piece below there. Okay, thoughts?
Director Guthrie.
And can you clarify, Dr. Holman, the board, a previous board, has, I believe, chosen to adopt the district's mission and vision language as R1, but the board could also choose to have a different definition of R1, essentially. Like we're not beholden to using the district's mission and vision.
the board defines the results for the district. And so in that, the board could adopt whatever results you wanted related to results one, the outcome of the district. I think there's coherence in having a mission and a vision that aligns with our values. And I don't disagree with Director Yoakum that there may be some updates that align with our values to a greater degree. So while yes, I also think it wouldn't be advisable for the board to go and create a mission vision that's not aligned to monitor.
Okay, so because this is an R1, I assumed it was, is this, and then maybe I think we might have had that discussion. Is this not like co-created? Is this not part of, no, this is all just district mission vision. Did not know that. Thank you.
Now again, you always hear me talk about alignment, coherence. I think we all have a vested interest in having a shared mission and a shared vision, one that reflects our community, one that reflects, staff, students, and the board's values. And so while yes, technically the mission and vision is and was historically developed by staff, Dr. Kimball actually, I think we have a vested interest in doing it well and doing it in collaboration.
Yes, to be clear, that was not a directive in any way, shape, or form to change R1. Just to be clear on that. What I said. Yeah, so when I say they could be separated, that is in no way intended as a directive. It's more adding to the conversation of, just understanding where this all comes from and what the possibilities are.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, it has been moved by, there might be one more. Director Guthrie.
Just one other thing that I wanted to call out was on the extended graduation rate, which had a decline. And at this point, it feels like the pandemic was forever ago, but that was the graduating class of 2021 is the extended graduation rate that we're monitoring right now. So obviously students who right at the end of their extended high school careers got caught up in that. And that's just something I would like to keep an eye on moving forward as we're continuing to move through these classes that are still seeing COVID impact and making sure that the next couple of classes, that there's just focus on that those students aren't just forgotten because 95% of their classmates have moved on. They're still in our system, and continuing to make sure that they're seeing success is an interest of mine.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, it has been moved by Director Liberty and seconded by Director Stewart to approve the monitoring report for results 1. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Holman. The next item, I believe quickly, otherwise we will take a break, but I believe it'll be fast. Yes? It should be fast?
Maybe. Well, yes. Maybe. Oh, no? Maybe. Yes.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the discussion around WAS deposition proposals. Director Yoakum.
Okay. here's my other piece that I've written. So WASDA's 1,477 school directors are all members of the Washington State School Directors Association, or WASDA. And each spring, boards have the opportunity to, as they call it, spruce up the WASDA advocacy platform. And that time has come. I email board members asking you to come prepared to this meeting with any revisions, additions, or consolidations to WASDA's positions. And this evening, I kind of have 4 different bullet points that we can do. We can, 1, review any position proposals that you have come prepared with. 2, discuss possible position proposals to bring to our next meeting. 3, decide not to submit proposals this year. Or 4, postpone this entire discussion until our next meeting. So we just have to remember that any position proposals need to be voted on during our next board meeting to meet the submission deadline. So do we want to postpone and then make it, or does anyone have anything to present? And if there is, then maybe we break and hear that. I don't know. Oh, Eric.
They're in, of course, direct conflict to one another. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. It's only take 20 minutes. Okay, so 1, there are far too many current proposals, and they should, this sounds unkind, but somebody should just run it through like AI and have it consolidate it.
I'm on it.
Okay, I tried it already, it was too large. But, I mean, I really think that's my proposal, is run your proposals through AI and like whittle it down. And I have another proposal. I did, as a matter of fact, run it through AI. There's a number of proposals on that touch on like on sustainability from like an operational standpoint, in terms of like reducing the impact districts have on the environment and that. But I couldn't find one that actually talked about climate change education and sustainability, like actually thinking about it from like an education standpoint. So like I have words, but I guess I wanted to just sort of raise that to see if that is something that we as a board may want to put forward conceptually. Because it is, it's consistent with a lot of the work we've been doing. It's consistent with what our priorities have been, and the work of the board for the last few years. So, okay, that's it for now.
Did you want to share the words that you have?
Well, I mean, no, not really. No, not right now, because it's like half baked. But I guess like in general, the proposal would be something around climate change education and sustainability. And I just want to be careful with what that would actually look like in the words. That's why I don't really want to go down that route. Because like what I don't want is like that we're asking the legislature to like place like more unfunded mandates on like the district. And I think it's important that the legislature support that education in the K through 12 curriculum. So no, I don't have words yet, but that's like conceptually what I was thinking about. I don't have words I want to share.
So, Director Ioka, we'll need, can you remind me the timeline? So we will need...
By the next board meeting, we will have to vote on any sort of proposal. So I'm wondering if...
So I will write something if everyone, I will spend time on it if there's like at least some sort of broad understanding that like that's a direction we'd want to go. Otherwise, I don't frankly want to spend my time on it.
I'm going to use that the next.
Yes, Dr. Holman.
I was going to say any language that is drafted, I wonder if partnering with Dr. Rose on it, because it's around curriculum, standards, learning, she may have a good lens in terms of what position would be beneficial from an educational standpoint and where the gaps are right now for us. Yeah. Yes.
So is that sort of the agreement, is yes, we will come with one the next board meeting, and also Vice President Guthrie will run all of them through AI and come back with her consolidations. Was there any other one that you wanted to? Yeah, anyone? Okay.
One thing I wanted to bring up again was that when we were looking at positions last year, there was a position, and I could pull it up. I should have pulled it up before, but that combines dual language and multilingual like stuff in the language space, and I think we had some conversation about the fact that those are really two separate things. What you do. Interests around education of multilingual learners, and then dual language. There's some, they're not completely separate, but that they were sort of merged together right now in kind of a confusing position, a single position. So yeah, that might also be at odds with reducing the overall number of positions, but thinking about taking another look at that and whether we want to propose some different language there.
Are you volunteering to do that before our next meeting?
All right.
I will send out an email to everyone summarizing what was just, yes, and due dates.
Thank you very much, Director Yoakum. Anything else? The next item on our agenda this evening is the superintendent's report. Dr. Holman.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, the district sent out a press release related to the National Merit Scholarships and the number of students that have qualified as finalists in Lake Washington. And so it struck me as I was reading through it, and so I took a little time to dive into what the National Merit Scholarship Program is and how exceptional our students are. So about 1.3 million high school juniors take the pre-SAT to be considered for National Merit finalist status. About 15,000 students are selected on an annual basis from that 1.3 million and across the country. National Merit Scholarship Program was established in 1955 to pair students that qualify with universities and scholarships. And so it's a program that's been in place for many years. As you may know, 65 students from Lake Washington School District are among the 15,000 National Merit finalists this year, which is extraordinary. And so I did partner with a colleague to unpack this data as well, also known as AI. There's about 3.6 million students in any class, across the country. And so there's 3.6 million juniors last year, and about 1.3 million of them took the assessment. With about 15,000 students qualifying as National Merit finalists, that's about 0.4% of all juniors across the country. There's about just a little over 13,000 public school districts in the country, and so evenly spread across each district, about 1.1 students achieve National Merit Scholarship finalist status. With Lake Washington having 65 students selected as National Merit Scholarship finalists, that's more than 59 times the national average per district, and even more impressive given that we serve about 30,000 total students, meaning about 2,300 to 2,400 high school seniors in any given year. So what are the odds? Fewer than 1 in 200 districts nationwide would be expected to have even 20 or more finalists. To have 65 in a single district is exceedingly rare in places like Washington School District, in the top fraction of 1% of school districts nationwide. And I share that because, number one, I want to commend our 65 participants that received this honor. I know a number of students over the years that have received full ride scholarships to attend colleges all across the country. One of our colleagues that have partnered regarding construction and things like that, his son received a full ride scholarship to Alabama through this program, and it's a testament to our students, and their diligence and their hard work. It's a testament to our parents and families that prioritize education, and it's a testament to our staff that work with some of the most amazing students this world has to offer. And so I haven't dug into, like, I see it every year and I see the list, and it just struck me this year, and it just caused me to think 65 out of the entire country is really remarkable. I didn't bring with me the outcomes of a recent competition that Tesla STEM high school students participated in, but again, to see the competition, and not just that they're competing and placing and winning, the things they're thinking about as high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors, the work they're doing is really, really remarkable. So I just wanted to say kudos to our students, because it's pretty cool what our students are accomplishing.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Can you post? It's an ongoing joke this evening. The next item on our agenda this evening is an update on school visits and community affairs. Director Yoakum.
A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to serve as a guest judge along with Dr. Ross at the Future Chefs Competition. And this is an event put on by Sodexo and designed to engage K through 5 students, kindergarten through 5th grade students, in healthy eating and creative cooking. It was a fantastic experience that truly highlighted the talent and enthusiasm of our young students. And this is the second year I have done this, and it's probably one of my favorite things to do. The competition challenged students to complete the plate with their favorite main dish. And from a large pool of submissions, 5 finalists were selected to cook and present their recipes. And as judges, we evaluated their dishes based on factors like nutritional value, creativity, taste, and presentation. The student finalists spoke about their inspiration behind their dishes, how they balance the flavors, and even how they work to minimize food waste. It was clear that this event wasn't just about cooking. It was about learning valuable life skills, building confidence, and fostering a love of healthy eating. These students would partner with their mentor chefs who are Sodexo, or who work with Sodexo, so they each had an adult there with them working in the kitchen at Timberline Middle School, working to create this dish. It really was an honor to represent the board at this event, and I love that we support programs that provide students with meaningful, engaging experiences beyond the classroom.
Did you also have a school visit update?
Okay, I'll go first, yes. Thank you. I was going to have President Choi, Vice President Guthrie, and I visited Redmond High School last week, and I just really want to express my gratitude to the staff and their efforts in preparing for our visit. I know it can be stressful, and it can be just another thing added to your plate, so thank you. We began with an insightful presentation from Principal Vanderveer, and as this was my first visit to one of our high schools, it was really fascinating to hear about the evolving role of the high school administrator. I believe that was her father who was in the picture? Or you weren't there? You weren't there. Was it her father? Yeah, her father who was in, was it her grandfather? Principal? Anyway, it was just like this evolving role of what a high school principal admin looks like. In that meeting, we reviewed their SIP goals and data, and we learned about various programs and practices that are enhancing student experiences, such as newly formed marching band, the cell phone policy, and restorative practices. We also received a detailed overview of the future construction plans of the Redmond High School additions, which was nice to actually see in person and kind of be told, like, this will be gone and this wall will be gone. It was nice to see that. We learned about co-taught classes at Redmond High School, and these include the co-taught classes include students who receive special education and ML services. They also include students who qualify for safety net, so they have 3 different kind of categories of the co-taught classes. It was nice to learn more about the co-teaching approach for ML and safety net students, because I feel like others often look at co-teaching maybe in the context of special education. So it was nice to see it more, the variety of students who were served in that opportunity. The 3 of us visited co-taught classes, 9th grade language arts class and a 9th grade biology class. And I want to point out that Redmond High School offers 4 co-taught biology classes. And as we've heard, it was nice, even tonight, I think it was that students who do not pass biology in 9th grade are often at risk for not graduating. So this information was really relevant to R1, and I love how it was even discussed tonight. Again, thank you to the staff, students, welcome us into the school. It's really evident that Principal Vanderveer is a strong leader dedicated to student success and the entire Redmond High School community. So it's a joy to visit them.
Yes, and a special thank you to the teacher whose class President Choi and I crashed. Apparently, we were in the wrong classroom. This teacher deserves a special thank you for absolutely rolling with it, because when like a bunch of adults just sort of wandered into her classroom, stood in the back. We learned a lot about biology with Deputy Superintendent Gillingham. It was very, very insightful. They were doing a booklet, sort of like a quiz that the teacher did, and there was some serious work too, where she was able to see the students were doing questions. Deputy Superintendent Gillingham logged in and was taking kids' gold. I don't know. But in all seriousness, the teacher could also see questions that the student had missed, and so we saw at the very end, sort of reviewing that, and there was a lot of engagement, a lot of discussion, a lot of really great energy. So yes, but a special thank you to the staff that was prepared for us to crash, and then also the staff that was not prepared and really rolled with it.
I think she deserves a medal.
She does deserve a medal. And then in the afternoon, the 3 of us also visited Keller Elementary, and the focus. This visit was unique in that typically it's principals and associate principals or assistant principals who are showing us around. At this visit, the principal was there, as well as the president of the PTA and also a parent member of the school equity team. So it was really great to hear the differing perspectives of all of those individuals. The focus at Keller was really on inclusionary practices, particularly focused on Black students, because that demographic has been increasing at Keller. And there was some friction within the school community as the makeup of the school community was changing and some different challenges that were arising. And so the staff's been doing a lot of intentional work on that particular subgroup, and we were able to see that in action. Really spending a good deal of time in. We were all 3 in separate classrooms, but I was in a first grade classroom, which is always fun to see, and just looking at the interactions, just really subtle, sometimes very subtle interactions between teachers and students. We saw at Redmond High in the morning too. Just teachers having a phrase that, as I was looking, and kind of looking for that, realizing, hey, this is contributing to some of the social emotional learning or skills that we want our students developing, or this is a teacher approaching a student in a specific way to make them feel more included. So again, a huge thank you, especially to the 2 parents who were there at Keller, as well as, of course, to the staff and students for allowing us to see how all of these values are playing out in our schools.
Thank you very much. I didn't know that wasn't the class we were supposed to be in until right now. So even more impressed then with how much fun we had and how much I learned. Also realized that I need to review my 9th grade honors biology content. Next we have on our agenda updates from any committees that any board members attended since the last time. So it's actually from the last month because we didn't do committee updates at our last board meeting. Does anybody have any updates? I can go first while people are trying to remember. So since the last time we did updates on committee meetings, I've had 2 secondary math curriculum adoption committee meetings. At the first one, which was on February 20th, we met all day here at the Resource Center. There were 21 members who were present, mostly math teachers and principals, and as well as some community members. We, at that meeting, reviewed the RFI process that was posted for publishers to submit their curriculum for secondary math. There were 14 responses from publishers. They were pre-vetted for specific requirements. And then of those 14, there were 4 submissions that the committee was reviewing. Everyone, it was a lot of reading, a lot of downtime, just going through all of the RFI responses that day. And then of those 4 publisher submissions, the different, all of the groups that participated submitted kind of their rankings. And then from there, fast forward to today's committee meeting, which was also an all-day meeting, and they selected out kind of 3 where we got to go ahead and take a look now at the actual content, with the goal, after reviewing, to select 2 to pilot. And so it's been this is my first participation in a curriculum adoption committee, and it's been very eye-opening. It's so much work. Thank you so much to everybody that volunteers their time, and there's so much thought, there's so much to consider. So yeah, it's been great, very informative. Anyone else? Director Liberty.
Yeah, and I remember why I couldn't remember the beginning of the sustainability committee meeting. It's because I was locked outside for 25 minutes. There was a sustainability committee meeting on March 6th. At that meeting, the committee was introduced to I believe they are contractors, how we're calling them, GreenLink, a contractor that the district has retained to work on the sustainability plan and roadmap. And I know at least one representative was there. They talked about their approach, and there was a chance for the committee to interact with them. We then continued, the committee continued the work that's been going on of going through each component of R.1 of results 9. I'll get there eventually, of operational expectation 9. And this one in particular was on 9.2, which is enhance the resilience of the district toward future environmental impacts. And this is our second time, this was the committee's second time going through that, of particularly just providing feedback on how the district has, at least right now, decided how we're going to measure progress with sort of a whiteboard approach. And I had a chance to walk around and look at it. There was no shortage of feedback. And so it's been great that it continues to be just, there's a lot of great energy in the room. A lot of people, really wanting to be a part of doing this work and providing really, really great, positive, constructive, it really does feel like everyone's sort of working on a common thing, which is really neat. And that was the meeting.
Director Guthrie.
I remembered, I think I was supposed to do this during community affairs, but Lake Washington Schools Foundation had their monthly trustee meeting. It was the day before we left for the extended study session, whenever that was. And I gave an update as usual, and they always have great questions, mostly around sort of where we're at with legislative stuff and some of the status there. And there was also a great presentation. The foundation had sponsored a mental health day at Evergreen Middle School, or Mental Health Week, I think. So they had some activities around mental health at one of our schools, and are looking to potentially do that more broadly going forward, which was really, there were some great pictures from that. And also their big spring benefit is this Thursday at the Redmond Marriott. Everybody who's gotten invitations, I'll be there for anyone who wishes to join. Oh, and sorry, one more thing. They're also looking for new trustees. So if anybody knows who would be a good trustee for LWSF, point them that direction.
Okay, so if there are no further updates, then the board plans to meet next on April 7th, a 5 o'clock study session with a 7 o'clock board meeting. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the March 24th, 2025 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Stewart and seconded by Director Liberty that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 9:24 p.m.